going?
Hey, beat them here. I was gonna be hair on fire. People were gonna be in here. Perfect.
No, I don't think this gets going until 1.
Choking on my own spit.
Hey. So yeah.
Sweet. Did you
Yeah.
check audio?
Yeah, that's working. I didn't
One,
check
two.
the podium mic. I don't know if that's working.
Should be. There are very few
Okay,
viewers.
yeah, this is
This is streaming. And so I'm just gonna be switching between whatever is up on the screen and this, just when it's appropriate. Cool.
Keep going. Nope. Is it switched? Is it a switch mic? Excuse me.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2. We are in room 103 AB at the Wisconsin Center. It is December the 7th, 2022. A date that will live in infamy.
Keep going.
So, a week from today, if anyone's caring, it's my birthday, so feel free to provide gifts and well wishes as you like. I'll be throwing a party in Madison if you want to come over. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be at the Rigby Grill and Pub right off of downtown Madison. So, come on, 5:30 to 7:30. Drink tickets, appetizers, wall gifts. It's going to be fantastic. So, I expect you all to be there. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. What? I don't know. What does it say? 103.
And then-
You're seeing video, you're seeing audio.
So,
Are we streaming to where we're supposed to?
How's the video looking
It's
on the
streaming.
stream monitor? The Black Magic guys seem to be a little bit hot.
yeah,
It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Considering all we have in here.
And it's like, we're right on top.
Yeah.
Very contrasty. Cool. You feel good about that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna.
Yeah, and just switching between, see when needed.
And then once we get technical input,
And then if-
make sure it's coming through here and on the.
Yeah. Or if they want that. Is that on, is the left this, or is it that?
Yeah. WL wireless.
Gotcha, cool.
So, podium DI. What it was, so it was set to OBS. So we were sending there, but not to the house.
Gotcha.
And it's actually set to follow. So this mix follows this mix.
Gotcha, so it just needed to be on
This
that.
is all the way down, then it's also all the way down here. You
Gotcha.
can figure something.
Gotcha.
What's up?
As far as audio feeds coming in,
okay.
nothing? Okay. I was just gonna say,
Oh, I mean.
Let's see, my meter's bouncing, so I didn't know if it mattered if I'm recording.
Are we recording this or? Alright.
You said you brought SD cards, right?
Yeah, the cards are in.
So we have a computer for the presentation, that's the one we're gonna use?
For the presentation, this is just my personal computer. I do is.
I was gonna mention, I think I won. Are you gonna have a bounce pass?
Are you the presenter?
No, but we're gonna have
helping,
lots of alcohol.
helping with a.
Okay.
Take your own bouncy house.
Presentation.
What's the worst that would happen?
So that's not going to be a link to the screen, is it?
No, no. So what's going to link to the screen is what's up at the front by the podium. The presenter, does the presenter like have their own laptop or that they're bringing, or?
I know.
Okay, because I believe that's what the idea is.
Oh, yeah, but I sort of know, I mean, you've been in this business long enough. You know Denny too.
I met him at an antique phonograph society
Oh my goodness.
meeting. He's a collector.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So stuff, and I had one, I wanted to really, because I have one that's been in the family forever, but I wanted to get rid of it.
Sure, yeah.
And I thought, what better place?
Did you find a taker?
No, they're all too high above me. Like, what I have would be considered entry level at their collectibles
Oh, sure, yeah.
standards.
That's it.
He said, oh, it's a great machine. And I was like, oh, it's wonderful. I got one.
Yeah, I might put it in my garage.
Yeah. Just variations, but literally a basement wall is 15, 20, 30.
Oh, wow. The check levels real quick. So, check. 1, 2. Hey. Check 1, 2. Check. Hey, testing. 1, 2. That's, I'm talking very quiet. I'm in channel 1. Check 1, 2, 2. Hey, 1, 2. Check. Hey, 1, 2. Check. Check. Hey, 1, 2. Great. We can fine tune that as we go.
Okay.
You have my number for these issues.
Kim, do you have too
My
much?
number or Kim's number?
I don't think so.
Let me just shoot those over to you real quick. Do you have AirDrop on?
Do we? I don't think so. Let me check. Alright, no, I have it on.
iPhone 6, Your Highness, Lindgren 2. No. I don't have your email. What is it?
ChainATrademark.com.
Just to double check.
Oh, yep. Good.
Kim's contact card is in there, and my stuff is in my signature.
Sweet.
So
That's good.
if you have any issues, let us know. Kelly's also going to make trials.
Yep. Yeah, I saw him earlier when I was in there.
Streaming.
Oh shit, I'm breaking some cameras later. Sorry. Starts getting all fuzzy on you.
Yeah.
Was this our live?
Yeah.
Is this coming out like
Well, okay, hurry up. No, I'm just kidding. We will wait for you. Well, as you should. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of like the script, and then Ben will pick up any certification that's not here. Okay? Jesse, are you prepared? Never. You always do a fine job. So they throw you out to get eaten up in public now. And it looks like they're going to be recording it, so just a heads up on. Yeah, don't pick your nose. I mean, we did 3 hours of virtual this morning, and every now and then you forget. And I look at the speaker on the speaker, not the camera, so it looks like I'm doing this oftentimes. And I'm not, I'm looking at the speaker. We'll wait till he... We're going to be starting shortly. We're waiting for one more that will be here in just a minute. Thank you. Can you help me move this
also
over?
don't
'Cause
know.
otherwise I can't see.
I was told to come here.
Yeah, just shove it back. My luggage.
Yep, that's what I was told.
Yeah. This is good, because then they can see you, and we're not pulling cables or anything. Okay, Jesse. All right, welcome everybody. We'll get started. If someone trickles in, like someone just did, please have a seat and join us. What we're going to talk about this afternoon, I forgot that we're at 1, right? We're going to talk about local certifications. How many of you are certified in some small business program, federal, state, or local? Anybody? Okay, so this is something to take advantage of. How many of you were at Marketplace yesterday? What did the person from the RNC committee say? Were you listening?
Yes, I was. I signed up. I would get you some of that money. There's a lot of money coming to the state of Wisconsin, specifically Milwaukee, because the RNC is going to be here in 2024. She asked us to sign up. We're looking for all types of vendors.
And what else did she say? What do they want you to do before that?
They want you to sign up.
What else?
Be certified.
Be certified.
Be certified, yes.
So, if you're interested in that path, or if you're interested in working with the city, county, MSD, we'll do state of Wisconsin and then later. But being certified, if you qualify, there's an opportunity to perform.
Levels,
And so
it's
we're going to
picking
talk
it
about
up.
some of the certifications that are out there. One, a caveat, just because you're certified with the city of Milwaukee doesn't mean you're certified with the federal government. So your benefits are targeted, so we'll listen to that as these guys talk, okay? Let's start with introductions. We'll start to my left, your right. Sir?
Afternoon, everyone. Lamont Robinson, Director of Community Business Development Partnership with Milwaukee County.
Good enough for now. Next? Thank you for doing this. Okay. No, go ahead. I just babble sometimes. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dr. Williams, Milwaukee Solutions.
Thank you. Jesse?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. I am the Director
Gotta speak louder. Yeah, start at the beginning, louder. And Ben is here from our group. I'm Ina Willemsens with WPI. Hi, Sam. We're an organization here funded by the Department of Defense and WBCC to help businesses in the government marketplace at no cost. So we're here to help you. Ben is here on the panel to pick up any local certification that we didn't have a representative for, so that we can kind of give you a full profile. Okay. Ben also assists if you need help on any of these certifications. He's been working with businesses to do that. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to start by each panelist will share what their organization does in the certification space, what it is, what they have to do, and why do it. What's the benefit? Lamont, we'll start with you.
Sounds good. Since I'm on the panel with the WISDOC
And please call loudly, okay?
Since I'm on this panel with the WISDOC compadre here, I'm going to speak more to the ACDs while I'm here. But Milwaukee County is a certifying agency for DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, which is a federal program which is run by the United States Department of Transportation. In this program, it's specifically for individuals that can meet the criteria of being both socially and economically disadvantaged based by the criteria that's set in the federal guidelines that drive the program. So some of those are personal net worth. So an individual's personal net worth needs to be currently $1.32 million or less to qualify. Ownership of the firm needs to be 51% owned by a disadvantaged individual. Again, it's spelled out in the federal regs. But then it's also being able to show that you have ownership, independence, and control of your business. So we're looking at a lot of different things where we're trying to determine if this firm is eligible for certification. So when I'm talking about the DBE, I'm going to pivot over to the ACDBE a little bit. That's Airport Concessionaire Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And Milwaukee County does that as we have multiple airports. We have Mitchell and we also have Timmerman. But there's opportunities for individuals when you go to the airport, you see those concessions going on, the restaurants, the food and beverage, the novelty. But then there's a flip side to that too that you don't really think about. You see the rental cars, you see the parking. All of that is considered a concession. So you can either have a physical presence at the airport to be an ACDBE, or the easier route is to be a supplier to those businesses that are there. So there's a little less capital outlay that you have to worry about in regards to that. And with the certification, it also can travel with you. So if you're ever interested in doing business in another state, if you're an airport concessionaire in another airport, you can always apply for interstate certification where you can do business outside of the state of Wisconsin as well. So it's a really interesting program, and I think the more that you learn about it, I think your interest will just grow even more as to where you could potentially take your business with this certification.
And you're talking like O'Hare, any of the airports?
Any of the airports.
Wausau's airport?
Yes.
So we're not just talking down here. I mean, we're talking smaller towns, smaller airports, as well as the mega airports, okay? Next, please.
Sure, so Dennis Alaveda with the DBE program, WISDOC, we are one of the certifying agencies for the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. And so with WISDOC, getting certified with WISDOC, ideally be involved in the heavy highway construction business, although your DB certification can leverage that certification in the city of Milwaukee, or Milwaukee County and Dane County.
For the certification itself?
No, just in general to do the work, like you said with MMSD, you said there's a database that you can register.
Right, so yes, you would go to WisDOT's website, it's the HCCI website. The highway construction, I should know the rest, but if you look for HCCI, anyway, there's a vendor registration on the contracting page there.
The county's website is county.milwaukee.gov. Again, county.milwaukee.gov. And from there, you can find the application to apply as to start your DBE application. We like for you to register in our procurement system if you are a supplier. So that's in the Enforce system. But like Robert was saying, you don't have to be certified or anything like that to do business with the county. The certification just allows an additional opportunity for you as a small business that has been identified. So when goals are set, it allows those firms that are certified to help meet those goals. So that's the county.
Thank you. Jesse, you're in the private sector, which is a little bit different than the government sector. Can you share about your organization's certification?
Yes. Again, good afternoon, I'm going to talk about my organization, but first I'm going to talk about the two third-party national organizations that does certification. And one is the National Minority Supplier Development Council. The other one, which is the organization that I represent, is the Women Business Enterprise National Council. Both entities are third-party organizations that certify women and minority-owned businesses. The NMSDC does the MBE certification, and I know it's an awful lot of acronyms, but you'll get used to them. The WeBank one certifies only women-owned businesses. And so if you're a woman-owned business and a minority-owned business, I would recommend that you would get both certifications, right? We are also the WeBank organization. Again, that's the one that I represent. We are also one of 4 third-party entities that do certification for the federal government under the Women-Owned Small Business certification. So when you apply for the third-party certification, which it is a fee-based, the minimum amount starts at $350, and it is based on the revenue that you say your company generates. But when you apply for the WeBank National Third-Party Certification, which is accepted by the majority of your Fortune 100, 500 companies. You can also apply for the WOSB, the Women-Owned Small Business Certification, which is designed for set-asides. And I think Ben can talk about that a little bit more. But you can do that simultaneously when you apply for the WBENC, WBE certification. Mouthful, right? And so what the two third-party national organization does is, 1, we're national, 2, we're also global, but 3, we advocate on behalf of inclusion of women and minority-owned businesses within the supply chain. We work very, very hard to partner with your Fortune 100, 500, and even some of your public sector entities on what their sourcing needs may be. Also, how can we develop WBEs and MBEs to help them to meet size and scalability criteria that's required by your Fortune 100, 500 companies. We put on events to get you in front of those entities and organizations. The certification does not get you the business. The certification is the cherry on top of the cake. You still have to market and sell your company to convince a buyer that you can provide the products and or services that they are looking for, that you can bring innovative solutions and competitive pricing to whatever that sourcing may be needed. Because most of them that do have supplier diversity programs, they are tracking that. They are proactively engaged in looking for diverse-owned businesses, whether it's women, minorities, disabled, veteran-owned businesses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we, as organizations, we help you prepare to go before those companies and pitch your company to them. We help facilitate introductions to those companies, whereas you would do it on a one-on-one basis. We get them all in a room, and you get to decide which ones you want to go meet, right? And introduce yourself. So we're facilitating the introduction process on a much larger scale to help you with the relationship building one-on-one, right? Because it is a known fact, if people don't know who you are, they can't do business with you. So it's a kind of a repeated process that we carry on both on a national level, on a regional level, and on a local level. MMSD is one of our corporate partners. You heard him mention, you heard Robert mention Veolia, they're one of our corporate partners. American Family, Kuna Mutual, We Energies. These are just a few of the corporate partners that are here regionally who subscribe to the best practices of the National Organization Supplier Diversity Programs, as well as accepting oftentimes only accepting the third-party certifications. That was a lot, wasn't it? Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, Ben, you're going to pick up the miscellaneous, so we're gonna do state and federal in the next hour, so we're gonna park that. I think we're missing the city of Milwaukee,
Yes,
so if you would, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
that's all right. We'll manage. Yeah, WSB will be talked at 2:50 via the SBA, Shane Mahaffey. So I'm gonna focus on 3 other certifications that are local. So I'm gonna give you 3 more acronyms, and there will be a test at the end. So the first one is HUB, H-U-B. It's historically underutilized business. That is a certification by the Milwaukee Public School District. If you want to work with them, and you're a small disadvantaged business, it can be interesting for you to be a HUB business. Similarly to MMSDC, the Milwaukee School District used other other organization certifications. So that's how they will certify you. So you will have to be certified by somebody else, and then you will apply to the HUB certification.
and it's not the same as a hub zone, correct?
Correct.
So when you hear hub zone in the next hour, hub
Correct.
and hub zone are not the same thing.
Yeah. Now regarding the city of Milwaukee, there's 2 certifications currently. One is the LBE, which is Local Business Enterprise. You have to be within the geographic boundary of the city to qualify. You have to have 1 year of existence, and basically it's, you use it or you apply when you apply for a solicitation from the city. There is an affidavit to complete, and you will be listed as a LBE, Local Business Enterprise. For solicitation under $25,000, the LBE give you if you're within 5% of the lowest price, you would get the bid. So that's the advantage. If it's a bid under $30,000 and you're also SB, and I'm going to go to that one also, then if you're within 10% of the price, the lowest price, you will get the bid. So the SB is the last acronym I'm going to talk about now. It's the Small Business Enterprise from the city of Milwaukee, and it is for socially and economically disadvantaged business. You need to be 1 year of existence. You need to own and control your business, and you need to provide the information about the social and economic disadvantage. On some solicitation, there is goals. On other solicitation from the city, there is an incentive, or you get points if you're going to subcontract to SB business.
Now, I know, what about the S3 under HUD? Can you comment on the S3?
Section 3.
Section 3.
Section 3, I think there was something this morning, but if I recall, so Section 3 is a certification. You can be a Section 3 business and be listed in a national repository. There's also actually a Milwaukee repository. In order to be a Section 3 certified business, you either need to be in a Section 3 district from locally, either Milwaukee or another city, or you need to employ a certain number of people that lives in a Section 3 local area, or you need to basically promise that if you get a contract, you will basically hire people that are living in those areas.
Okay, thank you. Next, I want to ask all of you, when you work with businesses in the certification process, can you share a little bit about that experience, what you see, what's a challenge, what's easy, who shouldn't be doing this maybe, and maybe who should consider it? Lamont, we'll start with you, so that you can set the standard for everybody else.
Thanks, Ina. The certification process for DBE, it can be fairly intense. There's a lot of information that is being asked for. And sometimes some of the challenges are that individuals aren't comfortable providing all of that information. It's really information on your business as well as your personal to really make sure that the individuals that are getting the certification are truly worthy of that certification. Because as we all know, there's if there's money, there's an opportunity, and everybody's going to try to find a way into that opportunity. But I would say if there's any questions in regards to what's being asked for on that application, to reach out to that agency to say, get clarification on what it is that that's being asked for. With the DBE, you don't have to have been in business a certain period of time. You can start a business today and apply. There's no fee for the DBE application, either from the initial completion or annually. So there's no charge for the certification. But again, the challenge on our end that I have seen is in regards to some of the information that's being asked for. Now, again, this is a federal program, so we have to abide by, what they mandate that we ask for. But then we also have challenges in the application as well, where individuals don't want the certification because they view the certification as kind of a negative stigma, disadvantaged business. And, a lot of businesses just want to get by on their own merits, and they feel like that certification doesn't allow them to show that. But again, everybody's going to make the best business decision for their business, and we try to educate and let individuals know that, again, this is an opportunity for you to grow your business. I know you may have some personal feelings in regards to how this goes or whatever, but if we just kind of put those aside and just look at the opportunity that exists and how it could help your business and your employees and your family and your community, there's really great opportunity there. So we try to have those conversations when we can, but sometimes, individuals just kind of set in their ways and don't feel or see the value in applying for certification.
So something I see quite often as the individual who is receiving your application when you're applying with WisDOT is, I guess, a lack of preparedness. And so as I mentioned earlier, I strongly recommend that you review the checklist and the forms that you're going to be completing, in advance. It's a little complicated I'm one that likes to just start on the form, right? I'm going to start filling my name in and start kind of going down the line, and then it's going to start asking for all of these details that you're not going to have right in front of you. And I think that there's indications that when an application comes in, it's just not complete, and then we have to kind of bounce it back, and that could really prolong the process for you, one. Two, you can miss information that might be really important for us to have. And for us now, in order to get your interview scheduled, which I should mention, I see people kind of intimidated by the process, but it's a very laid back, casual interview where it's on-site interview where we're getting to know you and your business. I'm discussing the information that you put in the application. But anyway, in order to get that scheduled with me, your application has to be mostly complete. Otherwise, the meeting itself will be very difficult to get through, and it could be twice as long. And so I would say being prepared, reading, the information that's available. I'm sure, especially if you're applying for many certifications, that it's a lot to read. But going in prepared, I think, is always your best bet.
Thank you. So, at the sewage district, kind of a little bit different angle, because we look to, our whole goal is to maximize our economic impact for our ratepayers, right? And so we look at these goals as opportunities to increase that economic impact. And for us, the certification and those goals, they're tied to performance evaluations for our project engineers, our construction managers, our project managers. And so people are always willing to get certified. They're looking to get certified. We have large firms, I wouldn't consider, maybe not necessarily large, but firms that are making sure that they stay certified with us, because it is looked at in a favorable light, and it is advantageous for them as well. The process for us, the SBE process, again, it's pretty simple. It's not tied to economic disadvantage. It really is just tied to where your business is at in the moment as far as growth and size, employee size, and annual sales, right? And so it's not too strenuous to go through our SBE certification process. And again, we have that reciprocal process, and so we do get a lot of the folks who are already certified before even wanting to do business with us, and so it's just kind of favorable for them. Let's see. So yeah, I think for us, it's just really, we look at that as, basic. We're measuring people based on what they submit to us and their inclusion of those businesses, and so businesses see the importance from us, why it's serious about getting certified, and with those goals being tied to folks responsible for making purchases, it just makes it that much more easier for us to actually meet those goals. And speaking of, I think our goal, MMSD's goal, is 25%, and this year we're a little bit over 30% spend, so they take it serious.
So for the third-party certification, it's a pretty lengthy process. It can go anywhere from 60 to 120 days, and that's after we receive the documents. But what you need to understand is that the criteria is 51% majority owned, operated, managed, and controlled by a minority-owned business owner or a woman business owner, and also being a U.S. citizen or one of the U.S. territories. Our corporate partners, we take the onus from them because they don't want to take on the responsibility of saying who is a woman-owned business or who is a minority-owned business. They do not want to take that onus on, and so that's where we serve as the person who does that authentication. And so our process is very well trusted and proven. We almost go through a microscope kind of process, right? The documents required, which you can download off of either the nmsdc.org or WeBank, WBENC.org. You can download the documents required. If you put together, you use that list to pull all of your documents together before starting your application process. It is a pretty comprehensive list of documents required, from financial statements, from operating agreements, to bylaws, to proof of citizenship, birth certificates, passports, etc. Your P&L statements, your balance sheet statements. It's pretty encompassing. But if you go through that list and you put together all of those documents before you start the application process, you are now ready to apply for anybody's certification, right? And you can just upload and download, right? I always advise people, do not start the application process until you have put together and gathered all of the documents required, because it can be a very tedious process and it can be very, very overwhelming. So take your time, pull those documents together, make sure you understand what you're providing. If you have any questions, reach out, ask the agency or the organization that you're applying for the certification to.
Thank you, Jesse. Just to make a couple comments before we get to you, Beth. This is not simple stuff. Certifications are not easy, right? I think you all kind of mentioned that. And you all mentioned they're pretty intrusive. They're going to want to know your incomes, how much your company makes, who owns your company, is your family engaged, who's responsible for what? Yeah, who's responsible for what? So if it's a woman, I used to help review some of Jesse's documents. I mean, they want to see the corporate paperwork and everything, because what she wants to see is, do you really run this joint, or can your husband come in and say no, and he's the only one that can sign a check or fire somebody? So when any of these guys are looking at legitimacy, they're looking really deep into your bowels, okay? And it's not It's you gotta take it seriously, and anytime you work with the government, and they're all smiling, the government is intrusive, and it's the government way or no way. So just saying, if you're gonna take this path, it's gotta be serious and it's gotta be part of your business plan, like you're gonna do this. Or don't waste your time, I'm telling you now. Do not waste your time with this unless you're serious and you wanna do this, and it's part of your business strategy, right? If you do not have the documents these guys mentioned, you know, corporate papers, good financials, right, your P&Ls, your balance sheets, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a whole bunch here. You can ask Ruben or any of the parts of SBA, SCORE. There's a whole bunch, right? Get your business together solid first, and then go after this. Do not do it reverse. It tends not to work very well. You want to make money, right? The reason you do this is to make money, not to give these guys a job, right? I just couldn't come up with anything better, okay? But you really have to be solid, because in the government, when you screw up, what happens? Really bad things, right? Like your name's in the paper, you know, everyone finds out. You really want to do this correctly. And I will add too, I know some businesses, Ben and I have worked with many, they don't want to do the certification. They think there's a stigma attached. They don't want to put that they're a DBE on their business card or on their website. Well, honestly, you lose the benefit then. And if you look at some of your business peers, take a look at who some of these companies are that have that designation, who are doing successful work over on the Fiserv Forum, with Veolia. Who do you got that's big projects? We gotta say it really loud. The Northwest Mutual?
Yeah, that was.
Okay, take the mic and say it loud.
Thanks, Ina.
That's what I'm here for.
But any of these larger projects that occur within Milwaukee County or the city of Milwaukee, there's usually some portion of that that's attributed to small minority women-owned businesses. So, like you said, the Fiserv, NML, when Miller.
And who's the big one now? JCP.
JCP
has the next stage of the Fiserv. So is he worried about how the DB looks on his website? I don't think so. So again, it's a personal decision, because you will disclose your personal things, right? And that's a big decision. If you do government, you're gonna have to disclose. If you don't wanna disclose, you don't do government. Whether you do certification or not, once you get into proposing and there's, you know, if you're looking at your risk level, you're gonna have to share one way or the other. Robert?
No, just echoing that same sentiment. We have a number of companies that specifically get certified with us because they know that they're going to get reached out to by these big companies because they are certified. We have those goals. And so they're going through our vendor database to find these certified firms that can help them get to their goal and get the work done. And of course, for us, it creates competition and all those different type of things. So there's unfortunately been firms who no longer get solicited because they let their certification lapse and it's not in our system. And so they're always like, hey, nobody reaches out to me anymore. Well, that's probably why.
Well,
Exactly.
and WSDOT has their certified firms, including the county. Anyone in Wisconsin is on your list on the WSDOT. I can pull down a spreadsheet with everyone that's DB certified in Wisconsin. So, you know, just see, you can see who else is out there.
And I should mention, like with the Amazon, with Amazon coming over and seeing area, and then we had our big highway construction project there, when the general contractors, the prime contractors, took it upon themselves to meet or establish minority and women-owned business goals, they went to our DBE list.
Very good. And like the 15th, I don't know what day of the week, Racine Unified School District is doing see who's the contractor on that? CG Schmidt is doing a thing on the 15th with us to try to get certified firms in on the school district project. Well, if you don't want to get certified, you're not going to be in the game. So again, business decision, just saying. Yes, sorry, Jesse.
Real quick, where a lot of companies fall into trouble is around their governance documents. So if you are an LLC, you need to have an operating agreement in place.
And there's a change in rules, correct?
Yes.
Okay, anyone who's an LLC, I'm sorry, I butted in, but I know I'm supposed to say that because it's.
And so if you're an Inc., you need to have your bylaws, right? And your LLC needs to point to that you are actually managing, controlling, and operating your company as well as your bylaws. The other thing that people fall into is not having access to their bank signature cards or not thinking that those bank signature cards are relevant. They are. Work with your banker. Make sure that you have a copy of your bank signature card somewhere in your personal possessions. That is key information for anything that you're doing financially, that any business that you're running or decisions that you need to make regarding your business.
And we're going to go to you now, before you nut out. No, I'm just kidding. I think you're the only one here with a bow tie. Of course, we've been wearing a bow tie. You might be. You meet with a lot of businesses and have from around the state, not just in the Milwaukee area. And you work with a lot of certifications. What do you see as the biggest challenges when you meet with people?
Well, I think a lot of what everybody says makes sense, and that's first. A lot of people come and are not prepared and missing a lot of documents. When you are sole member LLC, sometimes, or quite often actually, you do miss the operating agreements. Nobody knows what it is until they figure out they need it for their certification. So not being prepared is going to increase the time because you need to collect all those documents. Also, we often come across companies that say, well, I want to be certified in this, and this. Not necessarily because they need to, but because they were told that, hey, you should be this and this. And you really need to think about that first and figure out, do I need to be certified as an SBE with the City of Milwaukee, for example? Am I going to do business with them? If you do not, are you going to allocate a lot of time to gather the documentation, apply, and then once it's done, finally not do anything with it? So you need to be prepared, and you need to make sure that it makes sense to apply for the certification that you are going after.
Thank you, Ben. Final closing comments, and then we'll open the floor up to some questions. Lamont, some wisdom?
Some wisdom.
Like, do you don't like do this or do this? Like something you've seen from
Yeah, I think the preparedness was a good one. I also think just kind of understanding the gravity of being a certified business. You know, we're, for the most part, public-facing agencies. But this D&I space is huge. And a lot of these private industry businesses, they don't have the time to do certification and all that other good stuff. So in their supplier diversity program, they'll accept these certifications that you get from us. So don't limit yourself to just looking at public sector when you're looking at these certifications. Understand and realize that those certifications can travel outside of the walls of where you were certified, and use that to your advantage. Because I believe at this time right now, the opportunities are, I'm hoping that they will always be better than this, but these opportunities right now are sometimes a little unprecedented in some of the funding that's out there with some of these ARPA dollars and some other things that are coming down from the government. And so take advantage of these opportunities while they exist. And that would be my thing, is to really understand certification, and the firms that you're looking to get certified for. Do your homework to see if they purchase the goods and the services that you provide. Sometimes it can be pointless. You provide a service or something and it's not or a good, and that's not purchased by the entity that you're certified. So do your homework to see what they buy, how often they buy it, to then put you in the position where they buy it multiple times throughout the year. I want to make sure that I'm, at least trying to get one of these hits. So look at that. Make sure that your business has a commercially useful function that applies to what these entities are looking to procure, either in goods or in services.
I would agree with doing your research and taking advantage of the resources that are available out there for you. So if you're DBE certified, we have a DB support services program that will give you access to business building resources. However, if you are not yet certified, there are nonprofit organizations out there that are there to help small businesses, new businesses, and so take advantage of those resources. Ask questions if you're not sure if it's the right certification for your type of business, or if you are a newer business and looking to just get some advice. We can connect you with some of those organizations.
You also have a conference coming up?
Yes, thank you. So oh gosh, I should have the dates. Thank you. Yep. Wow. We have a DBE conference, and I'm sorry, I don't even have the formal name, but it's an opportunity, a fabulous opportunity to network with prime contractors, with other DBE firms, with firms that are interested in becoming DBE certified, and WSDOT highway construction engineers and such. And so there's going to be workshops, and I was going to say something about. So if you are, check out our website, I should say. If you go to WSDOT, just Google WSDOT, WISDOT, DBE, and you'll get to our DBE page, and you'll find a lot of really great information there. Even if you're not in the highway construction business, if you're in a supplier, or if you think you could benefit from the DBE certification in another area with another agency, check out our website. There's a lot of great information.
And it's in the Dells.
And it's in the Dells. Gosh, I am a really bad marketer. Okay. Yes.
So just gonna echo all those same sentiments, understanding who you want to get in business with, what they purchase, looking at, so for MMSD, we put all of our procurement opportunities out there on our website. We're always sending emails for literally every single opportunity. We cast a wide net. And so maybe you see something on there that you don't do now that you could potentially pivot, because as business owners, I'm sure you all know how to pivot, right? And so maybe you see, maybe not now, but maybe I can pivot, because this seems like a good demand of theirs. And so paying attention to what people purchase, the companies purchase. And I didn't mention it before, but we actually, at MMSD, we do a business capacity development program, which usually focuses on construction and contract and engineering consultants. But that goes through how to do business, how to estimate our bids, the whole gambit. And this year we're going to kind of expand that and try to bring in our IT purchasers and those in the professional services. So we want to pull in our HR and whatnot to do a presentation to companies in professional services as well. But yeah, so that would be my recommendation, is to pay attention, sign up. I'm here to help. So please feel free to reach out to me. I have some business cards left, but yes, that's what I am. I'm here to help. So please utilize us as resources.
Thank you, Jesse.
The best thing that I would recommend is that you pace yourself and appropriately level set your expectations and be persistent, right? Getting your certification and aligning yourselves with all of us actually is a benefit to you. It provides you additional resources that you probably never thought of. It gives you an advantage over some of your competitors, right? So you've heard it. I heard it a number of times. Understand who your customer, your target customer is. That's the best thing. Know where you want to do business and who you want to do business with, because then that appropriately allows you to level set your expectations. And then as you're getting these certifications, research the organizations, understand the benefits that you can get out of the organization, because it's also a return on your investment, right? And everybody want to get something back. But the only way that we can help you is if you engage with us, right? And ask the questions. That's my advice.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, my advice is sometimes it's hard to find the resources. So The SBA used to have a great resource guide. Now it's online. Among the resources that they mentioned, so you can check for the resource guide for the SBA on Google. One of them is us. We do help. We are free. We will help you with your certifications. We do more other technical assistance. We help with market research, finding solicitations. We'll post MMSD conference and DBE conference on our calendar of events. So make sure you find resources that cost you zero. You need to put your money elsewhere, and we're here to help.
I think it's like SBA, if you search SBA Wisconsin, that will link you to the SBA Wisconsin page, and that's where you can get the resource directory, is what I remember. Sam, can I embarrass you?
Do please.
All right, I'd like to introduce Sam and Geisha from WBCC. Sam, would you please stand up and please share what WBCC does, the resources you provide, and the coalition, and some of the stuff that might be of interest to the attendees.
Here's your mic, Sam.
I'll pass the question to my colleague here. Luckily, we have the real. I will mention my name. My name is Seyum Mengesha. I'm from Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. In that, I work with the diverse business development. So, as a state, we partner with the great people you heard today in terms of certification. Certification really, I sometimes call it a marketing tool as well, because they will have all your organization or companies in their directory, and you could be easily accessed. We as a state, we buy things. We are actually one of the largest buyers in the state of Wisconsin, even more than sometimes corporations, because we buy everything. And we need to find you, and we have our own resource directories that you can use. So, but we work directly with our partners, and I'm going to pass one of our partners, since she is here, I'm going to embarrass her. Here is Camille Carter from Madison Black Chamber, who is a member of our coalition as well.
Thank you, Seyum. Hi, everyone. I wasn't anticipating speaking. However, you do like surprises. I would like to share, though, a certification with you, since we're talking about certifications, and if you've not migrated over to the resources area, where SBA and WBIG and all of the partners are there to extend resourceful information, I would highly encourage you to do so. The Madison Black Chamber of Commerce has a booth there, and we have information on what is called the Buy Black certification. It is the only 100% Black-owned businesses certification. It is powered by the United States Black Chamber of Commerce, and it's free. The process, and someone came up to me yesterday and was concerned because they had found the directory and went in to certify their business and stopped the procedure because they asked her to scan her driver's license. And she thought it was she was very concerned. Obviously, anyone that goes through that process and you start transferring your information, you really get concerned. However, that is how they verify that you are a Black-owned business. So I would highly encourage you to come by, stop by our booth. I do have information for you to go through that process, and it does open you up to all types of corporate and government opportunities at a national level. So, and then we are also the Madison Black Chamber of Commerce, and we also have a Black Business Directory, but you don't have to certify to be a part of it. So,
Thank you, Camille.
thank you.
Anyone have any questions? You sure? Oh, go ahead.
To be a part of the Madison Black Chamber of Commerce, do you have to be, is your business have to be in Madison?
No, it doesn't. In fact, our organization is growing pretty much really through that south central Wisconsin corridor. But we do have businesses out of Milwaukee that if their customer is in Madison, if they have extended offices in Madison where it makes sense to be a part of our chamber, we're happy to receive anyone.
Thank you. With that then, I thank the panelists for participating, ask you to hang around for a few minutes if you guys want to network, exchange cards, or have questions. And we will close it now for that and start up at 2:15 with the state of Wisconsin and federal government certifications. Thank you. A large round of applause. I'm just going to thank you all of you for doing this. Very appreciated. What?
I feel like you've moderated before.
I have. I did it for 3 hours this morning from our office because we did the federal piece this morning. So.
I was just checking to see, did you say you didn't have your cards on you today? Yeah. Oh, I'll take one. Yes. My name is Katrina. Nice to meet you. This is so delicious. Thank you. Have your card with Italian, right? Natalia.
I have no idea. It's I'm just pulling it out. I'm not looking on the website. So there's gonna be nobody watching, and this is all for nothing. It'll be the first time they brought me along to run a stream that nobody watched.
It's amazing when you do some of these and it's like.
But there was a that I did for one of the Marquette organizations. I can't remember which one. I was there just to stream to the president of the college of Marquette for like a little bit because he was then coming down, and then there was just nobody. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be up here.
Something to go from that to that, because it's a small.
Gotcha. Okay, so is it a USB-C then?
Yeah, that's a new.
Okay, I will see if I can do it.
More people than I thought. Your presentation.
Check.
It's here, just need to be connected.
Okay, go through it real quick because I want to.
WBCC, how many?
Now we're okay. We're gonna need a cable.
That's fine. Go like this. Is it pulling up?
So, what do you
Presenting.
I guess. Oh, I will be here. You can tell me next slide. I mean, it depends because the camera is over there, so you're probably gonna be there.
The what?
There's a camera for streaming online.
Oh, you want me to sit over there?
So you probably will have to be there. Maybe with a clicker.
I can take the clicker. I have my presentation here too.
You have the computer?
No, I'm just saying so
I have it here.
So I can see.
Yeah, I have it here.
It's also pronounced pain. I heard that yesterday. The lumps no. The lumps no. Do you know the lumps no? I can't say anything because mine is this.
Yeah, we kind of, well, our role, they kind of covering, they got to cover all. They have favors, supply, but we do a lot of labor, workforce, compliance, all that, but we got work to do. Our workforce projects are actually required.
Right.
Supply the person ones are just school supply. Workforce is required, so they gotta have at least 45% workforce. 20%.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but we change, they got the ability to kind of, adjust it based on what kind of work they specialize, because we got a lot of like, something like this, rain construction or something like that, yeah, we probably have to work with that.
This is on, yes. Yeah.
Speak out.
That's something she would have did for me.
Well, the fingers up like, all right.
It's a microaggression, I'm sorry. Robert, this is Sherry Jordan, this is Robert. Sherry is the Deputy Director of Administrative Services. So she oversees operations, so she oversees my area. She's my boss.
For that, I was management and growth.
Oh, you were over there, okay.
Between that, I was actually working for a marketing firm. We ended up being a contract with the HOC. Incredibly messy work.
Oh, I already used it.
When you double down, that means it's something good. Double to zero.
Good money after that, too. After both ways.
Where you live?
Let me go grab one. Well, you can try.
They think someone else are successful because they've seen it happen. And so they think it's easy. And in some instances it does. Sometimes you just blow up overnight. But in a lot of instances, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it that you don't see. You just see the finished product. I can understand that. What goes on? This is what I'm saying. keep that around.
Yeah.
It's a little fitting.
Okay, cool.
No, so in lieu of bonding, we were just talking about this the other day. Why did it say,
So I sit and talk. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of. Is that okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, everyone, be seated, please. There's one person left.
Wow.
But we're also going live on Friday and virtual, so just remember that as we speak. So welcome, everybody. Now we're going to start looking at state and federal certifications. So we've got joining us representative from the federal government and the state government. Shane, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Shane Mahaffey, the Lead Business Opportunity Specialist with the Small Business Administration. I cover the small business certification programs here in all of Wisconsin for federal programs.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tondra Davis, and I'm the director of the Wisconsin Supplier Diversity Program.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with Tondra talking about the program, what it takes, what the benefits are, why should someone consider this, some of the obstacles in compliance. So take it away, Tondra. All right.
We'll go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about State of Wisconsin certifications, and these acronyms we will explain them more, but you may have heard of MBE, DVB, and WBE. Next slide. So the mission of the Supplier Diversity Program is that we certify minority-owned businesses, which that's the MBE, service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, that's our DVB, and also woman-owned businesses. And we do that to provide a better opportunity for them to do business with the state of Wisconsin, as well as other entities, be it private, municipal, because they're also looking for diverse suppliers. What is state certification? State certification is just that we're verifying the diverse ownership of your business, and with Wisconsin, verifying that ownership involves a lot of state statutes as well as administrative code. So it may not be as simple, or is not as simple as, yes, check the box, I'm a minority, or check the box, I'm a disabled veteran. There are a lot of rules behind it. Some of the rules are that your ownership has to be at least 51% by that diverse population. So by the minority, by the service disabled veteran or the woman. It has to be managed and controlled also by those majority owners. Your business has to have a useful business function. So with the state of Wisconsin, startups are not allowed because you have to have customers, right? And then finally, you have to have your business, you have to be under current ownership for at least 1 year. If your business is newer, we do have some special circumstances sometimes that we can bring businesses in on board with less than a year of ownership for 1 year, but certainly contact us, and you'll see peppered throughout this presentation our email as well as website. Next slide. So the minority-owned business enterprise, some of the eligible racial categories, ethnic categories: American Indian, Asian Pacific, Black, Eskimo or Aleut, Hispanic, and Native Hawaiian. Those are all eligible. DVB eligibility. You have to have a service-connected disability rating, right? So you get that when you're discharged in the Department of Veteran Affairs. They will tell you the percentage of disability that you have. That rating, sometimes maybe you leave the Army or the Navy or Armed Services and you have a rating that is an actual number, but you get better and then you have a 0% rating. Even a 0% rating can count towards getting your DVB certification. The D214, which is your discharge form. For DVBs, you also have to be a resident of Wisconsin, and the business has to be headquartered in Wisconsin. WBE, very simple, 51% woman ownership. So these...
Can someone be certified as, if someone's a minority, woman, and a veteran, can they have all three?
Absolutely. So you can choose either or all. So you can do one or you can do all three as long as you meet those eligibility criteria. Thank you for that question. So state certification requirements, this is just a high-level overview. Again, we talked about the 51% ownership, management and control, that you have customers. With our MBE program, you need a 1 year of federal taxes. With WB and DVB, 3 years of federal taxes. And again, sometimes with special circumstances, we can bring you in with perhaps less than that, but certainly contact us and we can work through that. The application fee, there is no fee for MBE program. However, and this is state statute, we're not playing favorites amongst the certifications. There's a $150 fee for WBE and $150 for DVB. And I like to say, because it's a 3-year certification period, for those, you're paying about $1 a week, okay? So, next slide. Benefits of certification. First of all, it just automatically authenticates the diverse ownership of your business, right? They know right away you say you're certified MBE, there's no questions about it. With our MBEs and DVBs, we have what's called a permissive 5% bid preference. Let me explain that. Wisconsin typically buys on low bid, right? So you want to buy everything at the lowest price possible. If you are an MBE or a DVB, and a bid comes in on a project at $100, but you as the MBE or DVB, you can bid up to $105 and you will still be able to get that contract, okay? So that's how that works. So that's a huge, huge benefit. Also, the state of Wisconsin has purchasing goals. We have a 5% purchasing goal with our MBEs and a 1% purchasing goal with our DVBs. And if you think about it, in fiscal year 21, we're in 22 now. What year is it? Fiscal year 21, we spent $3 billion in the state of Wisconsin, right? And so that said, spending that much money, 5%, we wanted to do $150 million with our MBEs and $30 million with our DVBs. We have what's called a database of certified suppliers. If you are certified with us, your business name goes on that list. And so when other companies or even agencies within the state of Wisconsin, when they're looking for diverse suppliers, your name will be there for them to find. And then finally, you get a broader reach, right? You just get a broader reach because of your diverse ownership.
Tyler, there's a question?
Sure. Question?
Is there no goal for the women?
There is no goal for the WBE program. And those goals, 5% and 1%, are according to our state statutes. So it has not been written in statute for women.
Okay.
Right. Thank you for that question. And then so benefits also, we just started logos about a year and a half ago. So you get to display, proudly display the logo. And so right away people know, hey, you're MBE, DVB, or WBE certified. There are a lot of certifications, and so you'll hear about previously, I know they talked about local certifications, and Shane will talk about federal, and I'm talking about state, all kinds of certifications. So you need to know if certification, and specifically state certification, is it right for your business? And so a few questions you can ask yourself. The good or service that you have, is that something that the state is purchasing? And I use your example. You know, back 50 years ago, probably if you were in the horse and buggy, I changed it a bit, horse and buggy business, right? And you were selling buggies, you know, that probably would have been okay. Maybe it's more than 50 years, maybe you had to be 100 years. But now, I don't think the state buys very many of those, right? So you need to make sure that the product or service that you have is being purchased by the state. Are you capable of providing quality products or services on a large scale? If you think about the state of Wisconsin, we have 72 counties. We have over 6,000 towns, villages, and cities. So there's a lot, you know, sometimes the coverage of an area is a lot for the product or service that we're looking for. And RWA, are you ready, willing, and able to be able to provide that? Do you understand that you'll need to put effort into winning state contracts? I talk about often that it's not that you're certified and that all the business will come to you. You have to go out and actually seek the business, right? And then are you willing to share your business information? We can't decide whether or not you're eligible for the program if we don't see your taxes, if we don't see some of your other proprietary information to ensure that you meet the qualifications of our state statutes and administrative code.
I have another question.
Yes.
Another question. You're saying that make sure your service is purchased by the state. Would I just look up supplier, go to supplierdiversity.wi.gov and find out if it's being purchased by goods and services?
I'm going to cover that in just a moment. It's not that, it's rather complicated, so that's why I'll just wait.
She's listening.
Right. Yes, you are listening. Yes. Yes. So applying for state certification, I think rather easy. We've made it easier over the last few years. On our website, we have an eligibility quiz that you can take. I recommend that you go to our checklist. Actually, go to the slide. I think that's how I did. Yes. You see all these colored sections? Make sure you have a couple things, 2, 3 things in each of the areas, right? You don't need to have everything on the list, but if you have a couple, gather those electronically, right? And then, next slide, you can go to our website and you can apply for certification. The actual application on the website it probably would take you 20 minutes or so. Maybe I'll give you an hour. But the biggest part usually is uploading those documents, finding it. So lots of people start the application, then they start looking for all the documents, and it takes some weeks, months, years. But if you start with a purpose of getting my documents first, then you can go sit down one time and get it finished, all right? We review applications within 30 days, and I have wonderful staff who will help you Our goal is to get you to yes, unless there's a glaring reason why the statutes say X, Y, Z, and you're in that category, and we absolutely cannot certify you, but we will try to figure out a way, all right? Try to get you to yes. Once you are approved, now the work begins, right? The mantra we like to use is network, bid, win, and perform. Next slide. So how do you network? The state of Wisconsin has over 60 agencies and campuses that are purchasing on behalf of the state of Wisconsin. So that said, there is no one person, not me, not really anyone who knows exactly what each of the agencies are purchasing, right? So it's going to involve research. We're able to give them this presentation, correct? Okay, and so you can see there, that is a link here, State Agency Purchasing Directory. And so that lists the agencies, and it has their agents, people who are purchasing for them that you can contact. My recommendation is not that you just go to that list and just start calling people, cold call and saying, hey, I do this, will you buy it? Research what they do. Research how you can fit in. If you're doing, medical supplies, maybe the prisons, Department of Corrections, maybe they could have a link into that. Maybe the Department of Health and Health Services. Figure out the link and how you can fit into them, and then call them and try to network and build that relationship. Next slide. And so you can see here, I said over 60 agencies and campuses. This is only like a third of them. I think it's about 20 on that list. So just imagine 40 more. And each of them are buying on behalf of themselves. They all have unique areas that they're purchasing and buying for. And so, like I said, there's no one person who's an expert. Next slide. These are the top categories of state spend. A lot in IT. We do, if you think about it, we have prisons, we have mental health institutions, we have hospitals, we have campuses. So, social, medical, client services, as well as, food and those related services. Those are things that the state is buying a lot of. Pharmaceuticals and chemicals. The state has its own fleet of vehicles, not only for employees, I can get a car, come to Milwaukee, go back to Madison, but also you think Capitol Police, they have their own cars. So we have cars and machinery, right? The mail truck that delivers the Inner D mail, that's a vehicle that needs to be maintained. And then also when the state is not an expert in the area, we certainly hire consultants and other professional services to help us out. And of course, we have buildings, hundreds of buildings throughout the whole state of Wisconsin. Those facilities have to be maintained and they have to be repaired. So that's the top categories. Those are the top 8 categories of spend that the state has. So now that you've networked, you know what the state is buying, you know who's buying it, you know how you might fit in. You need to locate those bid opportunities. You can see here underlined, that is a hyperlink, so when you get the slide, you can just click there. Or you could go to our website. On the splash page, you will see an area called bidding opportunities. All of the bids are there, or there's a link to get to the bids, I should say. Each week, also, for our businesses that are certified, we send out an opportunities bulletin. And that bulletin lets everyone know what the new opportunities are that have come forth within that last week, all right? And it's important for you to evaluate. You don't bid on everything. And of course, the bidding process with the state is well, I'll just say it, it's not very easy.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, but that's what we have, right? And so you want to make sure that you're evaluating the opportunity to make sure that it's right for your business, that it's a right fit. Next slide. How does the state bid? I'm not going to go in a lot of detail on this one only, but the other two not. But if you look at goods and services, how we purchase it, it's very good to know that if the project is less than $5,000, any state person can just go ahead and use their best judgment and pick whomever they want and spend that money with them, right? So that's why if they don't know who you are, they can't pick you. Network, right? No competition is required, and they just pick, whoever they think will best fit their needs. Now, when we get to 5,000 to 50,000, then they have to do what's called a simplified bid. In the simplified bid, they have to get a minimum of 3 quotes. It doesn't say who you get the quotes from, so once again, they use, I'm gonna say their, in quotes, their best judgment to figure out which three businesses they want to ask to give them a quote. So once again, networking is very important, right? And they choose the lowest bid from amongst those bids that they've requested. Now, when we get to over $50,000, this is when the formal bid process kicks in. And so they either do a request for bid or a request for proposal. The request for bid is just saying, hey, we need X, Y, and Z. How much would you charge us for that? When it's a request for bid, they're saying, hey, we want this to happen. We don't quite know how it will happen. How would you do it? And then they're gonna score your answer with points. So bidding is money and proposal is points. And then with that one, they have to post those online, and those are the things that we're sharing on our website, as well as sending out in the opportunities bulletin. Next slide. So we also purchase architecture and engineering with the state of Wisconsin, which has a different process. How many of you are in architecture and engineering? Nobody. Okay, so we won't spend much time on this. Only to know this is probably the most subjective one of all, because people are looking at letters that you send in and other things that that aren't as specific as like with the goods and services that we talked about. Next slide. And then finally, we have a process for purchasing with construction. And basically, if it's under 300,000, the prime contractor can choose their own subcontractors, but if it's over 300,000, they have to use the state bidding process to get who their subcontractors are.
Chandra, what's MEP?
MEP, thank you. I don't know the exact acronym.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you put me on the spot, okay. So I know what it is. MEP subcontractors are mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Got it. Just took me a minute. And so those are the contractors that they're looking at and they're saying, hey, these are the ones, if it's over 300,000, we're gonna choose those. We're gonna put out a bid and choose those subcontractors for you, attach them to your bid, and given this, how much extra are you gonna charge for this whole construction project? All right, next slide. So not only do you have to bid, but you have to win the bid, right? Either you're gonna be the low bid or you're gonna be a competitive bid within the 5% if you're MBE or DVB, right? With the state, I would say it would be very unlikely, first bid in, you get the bid. But if you don't get the bid, we hope you get the bid, but if you don't, ask questions, right? Everything we do is open records. You can ask questions. You can ask to see paperwork from the bid that did win, so you can see what they did and what they're doing. But in any case, winning the bid, it takes persistence. Next slide. And then you have to perform, okay? Completing the project to the satisfaction of the state agency or UW campus, which means it's on time, it's of quality. One thing that they use when we say the state buys on low bid, there are other factors that they put in there. It has to be responsive, which means that you respond to the bid, and it also means that you have to be responsible, which means in the past, if you've done projects with the states, you've completed them to the satisfaction of the agency or campus, right? So they throw that word responsible in there, and so if you don't have that record, it could be a black mark. Yes?
Can we go back to the previous slide when you were talking about the open records request? How does it make an open
So what you can do is contact the agency that put the bid out and let them know the information that you want. You can contact via email, you can call them, and request the information that you desire.
Follow-up question. How long typically is a bid period? Does that vary by agency and the bid? And so in that case, I'm just trying to see how I can be proactive if I want to do an open records request ahead of time so that when the bid comes out, I'm ready to move quickly, or what are your suggestions?
Okay, so just to go a little further into state contracting, oftentimes these larger projects, they're going to have a bid when they award a contract. It's going to be a multi-year contract, right? So it might be for 3 years. And so when they put a new bid out, you're right, it does vary. But I think oftentimes, especially on the large ones and the ones that will be for multi-years, they try to give you at least 30 days. But again, all the information is located in the bid, and it's up to the agency to determine that. And so just a little bit on, so once we certify businesses and we authenticate their diverse ownership, right? But the big reason why we do it is because we actually want you to get a contract, right? The state has a goal, and so we're doing it, as a bonus for ourselves, because when you get the contract, then we can count that towards our 5%, our 1% goal. And so some ways that you can leverage, obviously getting your own contract, but also subcontracting. That's a networking thing. So not necessarily networking only with the state agencies, but also with, maybe perhaps one of the contractors who has the whole contract, see how you can partner with them or team with them to be able to, do a portion of the contract. Or if if it's something larger that you can't do, but maybe another MBE who can work on something with you, you all work together. Again, making sure that you read the bid to make sure that's allowable, right? Also want to talk about joint ventures. That's not something that it's allowable in our state statutes. But what a joint venture is that you leverage your diverse ownership with your 5% bid preference as an MBE or DVB, and you find someone who is the prime contractor who maybe has the experience, they have the bonding levels, they have the cash flow, and you work with them to get a contract, and you work together, and it will improve your ability to get bigger contracts in the future. All right, next slide. Some of the resources, we have these on our website, other certifications, training. We are a shoestring operation with the state. It's myself and 2 certification specialists who handle over 1,400 certifications a year. So we have to kind of really farm out the business resources. We don't have the capability really to hold anyone's hand, to walk them through the process. Also, it would be a conflict of interest, because if I help you, then the other 1,399 certifications will be like, why didn't you help us? So anyway, so there's information on training, loans, the diverse chambers of commerce. I recommend that you tap into that resource, and then also information on the procurement and bidding process. Next slide. And with that, I'd like to say thank you, and that is our information. Please email us or go on our website. We have training videos, we have information, FAQs. I tried to download my brain on that website, so pretty much I think you can find the answer. And if not, call us, email us. We would be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
How can someone sign up for your newsletter, Tandra? You're really good at sending out those newsletters.
I believe the first time that you come onto our website, you will be given the opportunity to sign up for the newsletter. So just say yes and give us your information, and we will give you the newsletter. Now, the newsletter is different from the opportunities bulletin. We give you the opportunities bulletin when you are certified with us. Okay.
Any
follow that. So before I get started, I just want to say, yeah, I can see. Mine is really loud. I just want to say that with the federal certifications, none of the other certifications that you've heard about today, whether local or state, apply to federal certifications. So there is the women-owned business from the state, correct? The difference being with the federal, it's women-owned small business. So they're all different. So we get started with that. Next, please. You can keep going until it's all filled up then. So what we have is we have 5 different programs. We have small business certification, which is a self-certification, and the rest of these certifications, as you see, are all SBAs, or will soon be all SBA certified. We have women-owned small business with a 5% goal, and I'm going to explain the goals in a second. Small disadvantaged business, so that's typically for your subcontracting, but for the 8A certification, it's at 12% this year. It was at 5% year before last, and then when the Biden administration came in, they've upped the goals. So it was 11% this last year, 12% this year, and we're shooting for 15% by fiscal year 25. We have the hub zone, or historically underutilized business zone. That goal is 3%, which to date has not been met, so they've made a lot of changes to that. And then service disabled veteran-owned small business at 3%. So what you see on these goals, the reason we have these programs is that so everybody gets a fair shake at federal prime contracting dollars. So 23% of all federal prime contracting dollars by the federal government is reserved for small business. If that's in between the micro purchase threshold you see on the bottom at 10,000 all the way up to the simplified acquisition threshold of 250. Now, since I've been in federal contracting, that's gone up. The simplified acquisition threshold was at 50,000 when I started. So that's gone up significantly. So we look at all these goals, and that's nationwide. So each contracting agency or contracting office might be goaled a little bit different, such as the VA. They have a 100% goal of small or service disabled veteran-owned small business and veteran-owned small business before they can go to any other small business. So it's divvied up throughout the federal government a little bit different. So we look at this too. So this is just not prime contracting dollars. It also affects subcontracting dollars. So if you have a prime contractor that's large and they have a subcontracting plan, they must abide on their subcontracting plan with these goal amounts. So just in the way. So even if you don't become a prime federal contractor, you could be a subcontractor as well. And we're going to move along. Well, before we move along, I just want to say how Wisconsin did in fiscal year 21. So we are in fiscal year 23 right now. It's goofy how we go. So Wisconsin small businesses for federal prime contracting dollars in fiscal year 21 was over 1.1 billion. That's with a B, boy. 1.1 billion dollars came in for federal contracting. So that's pretty significant. It's gone up each year. So we'll go next slide then. And the next one, we're going to get started with the 8A business program. So unlike other certifying agencies, we do not have a minority program. The closest that we have is the 8A business development program, and it is for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals and or certain entities, but I'm only going to talk about individuals today. So as we see, all of these programs are designed to for your business to gain capacity, so to grow through federal contracting. That's what they're all designed for. The hub or the 8A program, it's a 9-year program and only 9 years. There's different certification. I'm going to just touch on the highlights of these programs. So this is one where you must be in business for at least 2 years before you apply. And then when you apply and you come in, you have to do once you get certified, like I said, it's a 9-year program. If you leave before the 9 years, that's it. That was the only chance that you had at the program. You don't get 9 years in one day, it's just 9 years. With that, again, that's what I said was a SBA certified program, and it's all done online. The certification is done online through certified.sba.gov. Next slide, please. And these are, so we're going to talk about social and economic disadvantage. So as I said, it's not a minority program, but if you're in one of the designated groups of what we would consider minorities in general, then you're already in the designated groups. So we have that. If you're in a non-designated group, you must meet the requirements down below. I'm not going to get into all of that, but if anybody ever has questions, you can feel free to contact me. And we can go over that because it's a big list in the Code of Federal Regulations. Next page. So economic disadvantage. I have a number of updates that's happened within the last year and in the last week and the last 2 weeks. And this is one that's changed. So for 8A and for economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, the economic disadvantage requirements are the same. And starting December 19th, these are the new goals. So I just kept them up there because we're so close. So we look at the personal net worth. So that's your assets minus your liabilities is your net worth. You can see that it's $850,000. That's gone up from $750,000. And what we do is we will take away, and when we're doing that net worth, we will also take away the equity that you have in your personal primary residence, anything you have in an IRA or a 401k, and any business equity that you have as well. And that business equity, I just want to remind people, it's not what you have in the business or what you think your business is worth. It comes from the balance sheet, and that's your equity. So if it wasn't still at $700,000, the example I like to use is if you had $1 million in personal net worth, and then each one of those criteria that I told you, the 401k or IRA, your equity in your personal residence, primary residence, and your business equity were $100,000 each, that would drop you down to $700,000. I'm sorry, it was $750,000, which brings you below that threshold. So you're good to go. That's an example of how that works. Your 3-year adjusted gross income average must be less than $400,000. So that's pretty plain and simple. And then the fair market value of all your assets must be less than $6.5 million. So that's your economic disadvantage. So if you meet those requirements, you've been in business for 2 years, then you can start looking at applying into the 8A program. The benefit, next slide please. The benefit of the 8A program is all federal contracting is competition. It's just like real estate with location, location, location. We have competition and competition and more competition. With the 8A program, if you're underneath the competitive threshold, it's $4.5 million for all non-manufacturing NAICS codes and $7 million for manufacturing NAICS codes. Anything underneath those thresholds are automatically sole sourced. So they don't even go out for competition. So in this case, say Tandra she's selling water bottles, and I can get water bottles anywhere. The contracting officer does not need to make a justification to go to Tandra to buy, because she's 8A certified, to buy her water bottles, as long as it's underneath $4.5 million. So that's the benefit of the 8A program. I often recommend people, and as for all federal contracting, to make sure, like what Tandra said, the government is buying what you're selling. The federal government is the largest purchaser of supplies, equipment, and services in the world. So make sure that we're buying what you're selling, okay? And I'm gonna throw a plug out for Ina's group right now, and you're gonna hear this a couple of times. Contact WPI at 414-270-3600. It's not that I ever refer anybody ever there or haven't known that number. So they can help you with that to find out what the government's selling, plus they have a lot of other good services. HubZone certification. This is another certifying. You must get certified through the SBA to become HubZone, a qualified HubZone contractor. There, I try not to say the same word 3 times. So as you see before, you build your capacity and grow, and then what it does is stipulates the capital in your economies. So it grows your economy. HubZone is in low income or predominantly lower income areas. That's assessed by HUD, HUD and the Department of Labor. I need a drink of water, sorry. Okay, next slide. We can open this up. So some of the requirements for this. These are some different requirements. You don't need to be in business for any amount of time. So long as you stay certified, you can stay certified as a HubZone. So the big thing is the 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens, and that is mandatory. Now, it used to be that another company couldn't own. I'm going to use Tandra as again. Let's say Tandra has a company, but I own Tandra's company, right? That can work. Or I'm sorry. So long as it's structured where you own both companies, you can do that. Now, your principal office must be located within a hub zone. I'm going to show some maps here in a second. And that means where the most amount of your work is being performed. So if you have more than one office, it's where your principal place of business that does the most work. And the next biggest thing that people get disqualified for in the hub zone certification is 35% of your employees must live within a hub zone. Not necessarily where your principal office is located, but within a hub zone. So I'll break that down. Let's say, Tandra, you have an IT business and you work out of your home, your business is out of your home, and that's allowed. And you live in a hub zone and your business is in a hub zone, so there's one, but you have 10 employees. So that means you would have to have 3.5 employees, including Tandra, need to live within a hub zone. And they don't live in the same hub zone as you. So what that means, 3.5, we don't have half people, so anything that's a fraction gets bumped up to the next one. So Tandra's business would have to have 4 people who live in a hub zone. She has somebody who lives in Door County. That's 2 because her in the Door County. And you have 2 other people who live in different states that live in hub zones. That counts. That would work. So she's eligible for the location for the office and the 35% of employees. So that's a good example of that. So all of these programs, you must meet the size standards to be a small business in order to be one of these programs. And then, so I'm going to cover the hub zone location. I'm going to show a couple maps just for here for Wisconsin. I'm going to tell you their screenshots are not that great. So the only place, next slide, the only place that you can go and get the actual address to make sure it's in a hub zone is you have that hub zone map on there. If you don't get a copy of this presentation, if you go to sba.gov, go to federal contracting link, and then hub zone, you'll find a link in there for the map, or just Google SBA hub zone map. It'll bring you to it. It's very user friendly. It'll definitively tell you if your office and your employees live in a hub zone. So we have this, you see a number of different colored aspects on the screen. So the big red ones are counties. So there's a bunch of different counties. You see the one at Door County has got the hash marks on it. That means it's redesignated. So once it becomes redesignated, it stays a hub zone for 3 years where you can still do contracting, hub zone contracting, and then you have to wait for the next map to come out to see if it's back in. Door County comes in and out. There are a number of different hub zones that we're gonna talk about. Let me find that really quick because I can't see that. You can go to the next page though, and you can see Milwaukee. It's very fragmented, and I'm going to explain how that works here in a second. But I do want to talk about the different qualifiers. So I'm sorry, can you go back one? Yeah. So you see you have qualified non-metropolitan counties, so that's going to be where you see Milwaukee. The qualified non-metropolitan counties such as that we saw in the red at the top. And then you have the qualified census tract, which is Milwaukee. Any Indian land, so any reservations, that is a hub zone. And then we have qualified base closure. So where the 440th was, that is still, most of that area down into, in Cudahy and down into South Milwaukee is still considered a hub zone until the SBA administrator pulls it out. And that's been how long since the 440th closed? 18 years? So, and it's still in, so that's good. And then we have redesignated in disaster areas, but those have to be declared by the governor before they can get approved by the SBA to be a hub zone. Now, I talked about redesignated, so here's a new one that we have, and normally I don't talk about it because we have governor designated hub zone that gets approved by the SBA. So with WPI and WEDC, right, has worked with the SBA, and now there's 2 new counties in Wisconsin that are hub zone qualified areas, and that's going to be Jackson County and Marinette County. So they just came in 2 weeks ago. So, and that gets updated every year. Sorry, everybody, my phone went off, and I can't control it with the ringer. It went off in my ear. So, next slide. So when we talk about the census tract, so we have Milwaukee. Sorry, I couldn't zoom in there very much more, but so the dark blue is all Milwaukee County. That's parts of that are hub zone, and then you have the base closure area down below that's in the fragmented. So you'll see spots that are open in Milwaukee County. So this is how it works. So if I'm right here, I'm in a hub zone on my side of the street. It happens more often than not. This side of the street is not a hub zone, And then I get people calling and complaining to me of why I chose to make this side of the street a hub zone and this side not. I have no choice in the matter. Please don't get mad at me. That is done with the map, and that's done, like I said, with HUD and Department of Labor. So currently this map is frozen until June 30th of 2023, and then the new map will come out, and then it'll be frozen for another 5 years. So this was extended because they didn't have the 2022 info until either last month or this month. So they've been planning that, so it's frozen until then. Next slide. So the benefit of the hub zone, so we talked about competition. So we have a 10% price preference. So, and it only works if I put a solicitation out for full and open competition, so everybody and their brother gets to compete on this solicitation. So what happens, I'm going to use Tondra again. She works for GE, and she's a large company. And then you have Ben over here, who's a small hub zone certified firm, and they put in their quotes. Everything was the same except for the price. Tondra's huge, so she was able to come down and get her cost down, so she came in at $100. Ben, he's a little guy, so he had $105 he came in. But everything else was equal except for that. Ben's within 10% of that price. He was under $110. So now Ben is our apparent successful offer, okay? But that only works if their first apparent successful offer is a large business. We don't want to take away business from any other small business. Okay, so that's the benefit of the hub zone. Yes, ma'am?
So what you're stating is that if it's two small businesses that are both hub zones, then it would be the lowest bid for them?
Well, it would depend on how it came out for, because then it would depend on how the solicitation was written and how they're going to evaluate it overall. But I say everything, all things being equal, right, it probably would be the lowest price. So sometimes price is always a factor, but it's not always the factor. So I've done them where it was the factor. I've done them where it wasn't the big factor. So women-owned small business, we've had a lot of changes with this. We just go right into the next slide and talk about that. We've all seen this slide before. What does it do? Builds capacity and growth through government contracting. Next slide. So again, now this is a SBA certification that came out 2 years ago in October. It used to be just self-certification. Now you can still self-certify as a woman-owned small business or an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business in SAM. And who do you go to get your SAM registration and make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed? WPI, 414-270-3600. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at 51% ownership and control. It's very important that people understand the control part. I've had lots of gentlemen say to me, well, I've surrendered 51% of control of business over to my wife, so now we're a woman-owned small business. No, you're not, because the husband is still making the day-to-day decisions, controls the hiring and firing. His spouse, his wife, has the smallest room in the whole building, which ended up being a janitor closet. That's not control. So one or more women have to have the control of the business. And I'm going to take a guess, and usually my guesses are right here. Before too long, I'll start being assigned surprise site visits out to newly certified women-owned small businesses. So with that, so you can see some other examples that of control, hold the highest officer position. We're going to talk about NAICS code in a second. The managerial experience, that's very important. The day-to-day operations. And then here again, there's no minimum time in business like there is with the 8A program. So long as you maintain your certification, you stay women-owned small business certified. The NAICS.
What I often ask is, can the wife fire the husband?
If the answer is no, then she does not have control. So we know they can always get fired. So let's go to the next slide, see if I have the NAICS codes. Oh, I don't have the NAICS codes there. We can go back up one while we're doing that. So it's changed quite dramatically here in the last year, and this is why I have my notes. So we're up 70.1% from last year on the NAICS codes that are eligible for women-owned small business and economically disadvantaged women-owned small business set-asides. So it's up a total to 759 different NAICS codes. So, and I'm going to use the acronym WOSB for Women-Owned Small Business, is at 646 authorized NAICS codes. And EDWOSB, Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business, is at 113. The important thing to note, these are the NAICS codes that are eligible for set-asides and sole sources. So that's what it says, that have the proper NAICS code. When you get your certification, I talked to a nice lady yesterday, had her business, and we looked up her NAICS codes through the SBA. Well, that was you, Nicole, right? She is. Awesome. So then tell me, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We went through and we found out that her NAICS codes are eligible under Women-Owned Small Business. So now she can get her Women-Owned Small Business certification. There's really no need for her to pursue the Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business certification, the actual certification, because her NAICS codes don't fall into those EDWOSB NAICS codes where they're going to get the prime contract dollars. But I think I recommended that still get self-certified, right, in SAM for the EDWOSB, so you can still pick up subcontracting dollars, because prime contractors, when they do the subcontracting plans, are not bound to those NAICS codes. So if anything, if you're a woman-owned small business, for what we're just talking about there in EDWOSB in a second, make sure you at least do a self-certification in SAM, okay? Next slide, Ben. So again, this slide looks very familiar because it's the same slide that I used for the 8A one. I just copied and pasted it. So again, we're looking at these three things for economically disadvantaged, and these numbers go into effect on the 19th of December, okay? We're gonna go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. So here's a new change that we have. The official, so WOSB used to be through beta.certified.sba.gov. After 2 or 3 years of doing that, they have actually listened to everybody and made its own website. It's now going from this. I think it might take you automatically, if you still do the beta.certify, it'll take you to the next slide, which will take you to this page. Otherwise, you can see the website right at the top there, www.certify.sba.gov. That's the new website. There's a few changes on there. Instead of said, are you eligible, it says, should I apply? That's a big one. So there's a lot of information just off of this landing page. As you can see, it tells you a whole lot on there, and then they have new announcements. Those are hyperlinks on those announcements, by the way. And then get started to do your application. And then also, there's a knowledge base in here that's like a big fact sheet, and it's huge. It's not just a sheet or just a little page, it's just like a library of facts. Next page. So with that, with women-owned small business, you can get certified by 4 different authorized SBA certifying agencies. It will cost you money to do that. It does not cost you any money to go through the SBA website to do it, okay? And as Tandra was mentioning before, when you are applying and it tells you what you need for your application, gather your documents beforehand so you're not having to stumble and find those out. Especially, I didn't cover this in the Hub Zone, but especially for the Hub Zone, it's an older system, and you're going to work with Ben from WPI at 414-270-3600 to work on that application for the Hub Zone. And that system, if you do not have your documents ready and they get uploaded and you get stuck on a page, it times out. You have to complete it from start to finish in one session. There's no saving and exiting. If you don't finish a page within an hour, you'll get timed out. Or if you don't do something, you'll get timed out, and I'm telling you, if that was me, I'd probably throw my computer out the window. So I want to give everybody fair warning on that to make sure you have all your documents ready. That'd be a correct statement, right, Ben? Okay. So next page, service disabled veteran-owned small business. It's very similar, what you're gonna see is to the women-owned small business. So again, we're trying to grow this. There's been a lot of changes that's coming up and through the year. So next page. So you're going to see it looks very similar. 51% owned and controlled by 1 or more veterans. A veteran must hold the highest officer position, the managerial experience, and manage the day-to-day functions. There's no requirements for NAICS codes on this one. It's just some of the same similar requirements. Next page. So service disabled. So with the Department of Veterans Affairs, you right now, for the federal government, until until January, you can self-certify and be self-certified as a service-disabled veteran or a veteran-owned small business. But you notice there's the only goal for SDVOSB for the federal government right now, with the exception of the VA. The VA requires that you be certified to do business with the Department of Veterans Affairs. You must be certified through what they call CVE, and that's their Vets First verification program in order to do business with them. So service-disabled veteran-owned small veteran-owned small business must be certified. Next page. The changing starting January 1st, the SBA is going to take over those requirements for certification. If you're already self-certified, you don't need to do anything, you just need to become certified. So it's going to be an actual certification program through the SBA for all federal contracting. If you're self-certified, you have a year grace period in order to get certified through the SBA. If you are CVE certified by the VA, you're going to have that year as well. You don't have to do anything yet. You just have to make sure that you get certified by the SBA within the next year as well. I found out yesterday, and as what I had thought, that contractors that do the certification for VA will now become contractors for the SBA. So we have that. Let's go to the next page. So we talked about self-certification for women-owned small business. Small business itself is a self-certification. You can get women-owned small business, and economically disadvantaged women-owned small business can also be self-certified. You're just not able to get the prime contracting dollars. And then not 8A, but you do have small disadvantaged businesses, so SDBs. All 8As are small disadvantaged businesses, but not all small disadvantaged businesses are 8As. The difference being is the certification. So you can still get your self-certify in SAM that you are an SDB and be able to pick up subcontracting dollars that way too from prime contractors. Next page. So we have nominations until tomorrow. I'm not going to bug everybody with that. They should all be in, so next page. As far as small business awards for next year. So, how are we doing? If everybody you want to scan that QR code and give me a big 10 on that. I don't know how it works. They just put us out there. Go ahead, try it out. I haven't tried it yet. So if you just want to tell us how the SBA is doing, that is great. I'm also available. You're going to have my contact information in a second. You can sign up for our newsletter, our district newsletter that goes out. Our public information officer sends that out. There's all you got to do is apply for it. If you don't like it, you can delete it if you don't want to keep getting the emails. So we have that next page. And that should be our contact information. I work out of the Milwaukee office, but I'm usually only in the office 1 or 2 weeks, 2 times during a pay period. So every 2 weeks I'm in the office 2 days every 2 weeks, unless I'm out to events like this, and that counts. So does anybody have any questions? I was done. Yes, Nicole.
So going back to 8A,
Mm-hmm.
that has a time restriction. What do you see as some of the biggest mistakes as far as knowing when to apply for that?
I'm not going to say that's a good question. That's a perfect question. Because we will tell people that you want to be doing government contracting. Federal contracting takes on average 3 to 5 years before people see their first contract in the federal arena. Yeah, there are exceptions. There's some that's made it in 2 weeks, but they know the system, so it's not their first rodeo. Then we have other people that work for 10 years and it's a hard time. I don't want to discourage people with this, but I want to be realistic as well, because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not just here's money. Go. It's not like contracting with the construction company down the street. Okay, so the biggest thing that I would recommend is that you work with WPI. I'm not going to say it. Work with WPI. Find out if the government is buying what you're selling, and are they selling it in quantities sufficient enough to you to go through the certification process. 8A, when you basically recertify every year. So if you're here in Wisconsin, myself or Jim are going to look at your annual reviews and make a determination if you're still eligible or not. So that's how that goes. I don't do the actual applications, but we do that every year. So you're going to send us all your tax returns for the last 3 years, or last 3 years. It's probably going to be 5 years because that's changed. So find out what they're selling. Start doing some government work. You can start doing government work without being 8A, right? That's the biggest thing that I hear from when I do exit interviews with people, that they wish they would have done government work before they got into the 8A program because they wasted the first 3, 5, 7 years before they started getting any contracts. Anybody else? I wasn't boring, was I? Everybody knows WPI's number?
Yes.
Okay. It's 414-270-3603.
Any questions? So hopefully this afternoon what you saw is they're all different. You need to identify what market you're going after before you decide if this is worth your time and effort. The government's intrusive, they want to know all your dirt. And if that's not good for you, then government isn't for you. But if you want to go after some of these opportunities, this will give you an edge, right? It'll get you in the door, won't give you the work, but it'll get you in the door. And that's all we have, except to thank Shane, which I forgot your name, Shane and Tandra for joining us this afternoon, and Ben for sticking through both sessions and having a conference. Sounds like the music's rolling already. Thank you all. Thank you. So is that okay? What? I know, I said, well, once I really do that. I've been trying to remember everything else.
So how is the streaming going? It was up and running, so that's the best part. Okay, that's all we can ask for. Yep, exactly.
Is there another session? Okay, I gotta, let me check, because the sign didn't say anything, but I don't know. It is. Yeah, the sign that they have out front of this room doesn't have anything else on it, so yeah, that's what I thought.
Out, so I kind of assumed. I guess I'll just run down and see what the boys say.
Yeah.
If there's anybody striking this or who's striking this.
Yeah, they're gonna be showing us at some point. Yeah, once the room is done. This is 213 AB, right?
This is 103.
Or 103, yeah. Or 103, yeah.
Oh, they're rocking it B, it sounds like. 102.
I think it's actually out in the
That's where the pants off dance off is. project that, back to my $100 bills, put